I hiked 50 miles in the new Altra Lone Peak 8s to find out if they brought the magic back from the older models that served me so well on hundreds if not thousands of miles of trail. Now, everyone's feet are different, but the jump from the 6 to the 7 wasn't a good one for me, with Altra going narrower and losing the sock-like feel that made the earlier version so great. The first thing I noticed with the Lone Peak 8, especially when wearing them side by side with the 6 and the 7, is that they feel like a combination of the 6 and 7 in a positive way. The Lone Peak 8's toe box felt wider than the 7, more like the 6, and then I confirmed that by measuring them with a caliper as well. I think the toe box was a hair shorter than the 7 model, which felt really good on my feet, and also I think contributed to less of a sloppy feel where your foot moves around inside the shoe, and long term could even eliminate the crease, which was a common fail point on earlier models. I'll keep you posted on that. In doing these side-by-side tests, the 8 felt a lot more like the 6 than it did the 7, which had a soft moccasin trail feel. It's not ideal for sharp stones or for bushwhacking or for going off trail, but for most of the trails I encountered, it was great. And it wasn't just the width of the toe box, but also the upper material, which felt more comfortable in the 7. What's interesting, if you look at the upper on the 7, it's this diamond pattern, but on the 6, it's a square pattern, and on the 8, it goes back to the square pattern. I don't know if it's a similar fabric or maybe even the same fabric, but it was definitely more comfortable in the 7. And I found that, as always with the Lone Peaks, the mesh drained really well, and they dried out pretty quickly, about as quickly as any other trail runner out there. The 8 kept the rigid and narrower heel cup that was introduced in the 7. Overall, I think it locked my heel in better, and it didn't slide around as much as it did on the 6, which doesn't really have any structure to it. And I could really feel this on steep slopes going uphill or downhill. It was a lot less sloppy than the 6 version, a little bit more locked in, while still giving you a comfortable feel. Overall, I found that the combination of the new heel cup, the old toe box, and the different upper kind of brought out the best of the shoe. It felt a lot like the 6 in terms of comfort, but without all the sloppiness that the 6 had. Keeps the same tread as the 7 model, which was an improvement over the 6. It's not the best tread. There's definitely better shoes out there for tread. Has problems on wet granite and wet rock, but for most trails, it works okay. The laces on the 8 are much longer than on the 7, which is a good thing for me. And they also added these 2 little holes in the barrel eyelets. Now, for me, these barrel eyelets aren't great. They usually chafe through my laces after a while, so being able to go through these holes is a good thing. It just gives you some options in terms of lacing your shoes up. Now, I can't empirically prove this, but I think there was less sand and debris in the shoe. It could be because the front of the laces here is way more snug than on the old models, which had room around the laces and obviously allowed things like sand to get in a little bit more easily. Another small but welcome feature is a larger heel loop and a larger loop here on the tongue. Easier to get your finger in and probably going to come in handy, especially at altitude when your fingers might swell up a bit. There's also a larger Velcro patch on the back for attaching the gaiters. Now, after 50 miles, it's hard to say how durable these will be. I'd imagine the midsole will start feeling flat somewhere around 200 miles, which happens on all the Lone Peaks, and I think it is the same midsole there. And there are some quality issues that have crept up in recent years with the Altras. If you've read the reviews, you've seen them. I would say just buy them from somewhere like REI that has a liberal return policy, so that if you do get a dud pair, you can return it pretty easily. So is the Lone Peak 8 a good hiking shoe? Yes, I think it's probably better than most hiking shoes out there in terms of comfort, maybe not durability so much. I think if you're a Lone Peak 6 user and you didn't like the 7s, this might be a good next step for you once your 6s wear out. If you want a shoe that's very similar to this, I recommend checking out the Topo Athletic Pursuit. It's got a wide toe box, zero drop. It feels very, very similar, but it's definitely more durable and the tread is much better. I have a video review of that on my channel as well. I'll put a link to that under this video if you want to check it out. And if you want to see what I'm using at the time, it changes as I go along. Just search for Hiking Guy, best hiking gear. I keep an updated list of what I'm using out in the trail. It's not sponsored, it's just the stuff that I'm using. And I am trying out a bunch of other shoes that I've seen PCT hikers using, maybe more comfortable in this. I don't know. Once I get a good trail feel and I can recommend them or not, I will post a video on it too. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, any questions, comments, leave them under the video. It'll help other hikers out or other people looking for information on this shoe. And yeah, guys, stay safe. I will see you out on the trails.